Welcome to Ciao Bella, hosted by yours truly, Erica Firpo, travel journalist based in Rome. Each week on Ciao Bella, I explore today's Italy, speaking with artisans, designers, hoteliers, architects, artists, Parmesan makers, in other words, the creators who are making the Italy that you love. So sit back and join in. Hey, welcome back to Ciao Bella. This is Erica, and today I am sitting here with the fabled Marie-Louise Scio. I love using the word fabled because that is a word that accompanies her in all of the articles I read about her and all these stories that I've heard about her. She is the creative director of the Pellicano Hotels, which are 3 incredible hotels in Italy that are that have mythology unto themselves. And I'm going to first let her introduce herself.
Hi, Belly. So nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
You tell me.
Okay. Well, first of all, just to give everybody an idea about you, you're very young, and you come from a hotel family. And let's first, because I think you're right. I just started it really cold. Let me give a little bit of a backstory. First with the Pellicano Hotel, or Il Pellicano, as the world calls it. And I just recently discovered that it's also called Il Pelli. Is that correct?
Sometimes, depends. People have different short names for it, but...
The Pellicano Hotel is a historic and almost mythological hotel on the Tuscan coast in Porto Ercole. And it was built, it was opened in 1965.
Yeah.
And your family took it over in 1979, is that correct?
Yeah, my father was a guest at the Pellicano in the 70s because my mom, who speaks only English, or at least spoke only English at the time, she had just moved to Italy and he wanted to take her out for the weekends, and he took her to Pellicano because he knew that she could mingle with people because everyone there spoke English.
But before, in fact, this must have been, by the time your parents went there, it was already a place, from what I understand, where Kennedys would go, and the very, very famous, I know there's a whole history with Slim Aarons. Do you want to tell me a little bit about the prehistory, the pre-show history?
Yeah. I mean, it was a very kind of small, it was kind of a members club without being a members club officially, but the owners were very selective. It was very small. There was like 20 rooms and 18 rooms for the drivers. And the owners would decide who would come in or not, and be part of the hotel. So they were quite snobby actually with Italians, and they didn't really want Italians. And so my father got in by complete chance, and he'd heard he was on a boat and he wasn't feeling well, and he decided to go and check out this hotel, and his friend said, "Don't, because you'll never get in." And he said, "Well, I'll try it." And he got there, and the first person he saw was Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he was a bit, where am I? It's quite surreal. And then he just started going, and he was the youngest guest, I think, at the time. And then the owners decided that it was time to sell, and they were tired, and so they asked the only Italian they knew if he knew someone who would be interested in buying it. And he was not in the hotel business, but he was so in love with that place that he decided to buy it to kind of protect it.
Now, just to describe it, my nonni used to stay there, and my parents have stayed there. And I know I've never been there, but I know I've seen from pictures. It's kind of stepped into.
Yeah, it's very stepped on this kind of
a bluff almost.
Cliff, quasi, so you never actually it does feel like a home, because you never feel like a cluster of too many people. So there's all these villas, a main building with 25 rooms, and then the other 25 are kind of all over the property.
And it has a very particular color, doesn't it?
It's red. It's like it's a very specific Porto Ercole red, I call it. So then my father took it over, and it's kind of a side business, but we grew up there.
Oh, wow.
In the summers, it was our summer destination, and but children weren't allowed. So it was fun to see this grown-up world of glitz and glamour, but be outside of it in some way. And as a child, everything is amplified in some way, and especially when you can't be part of it. And so I would, hide kind of at the bushes. I couldn't go down at night. During the days we could, but it was very, I think, formative to see this world of very elegant people having a good time.
Now, where did you grow up when you weren't in Porto Ecco?
In Rome until I was 14.
In what part of Rome?
In the center, in Piazza Santi Apostoli.
Oh, wow.
Precise.
Oh, wow, you were really in the center of the center.
Yes, couldn't be more central than that.
So then what ended up happening was that your family acquired a second hotel.
Yeah, then my father always he's a pure aesthetic person. He loves, I have to say my mother as well, anything that is beautiful. And so then again, by chance and lots of intricate stories, he bought the Posta Vecchia, which is outside of Rome. And again, he still wasn't in the hotel business. It was always side kind of investments, And then I think it was in the 90s he decided to go to hotel to Cornell.
Oh, so he went back to the hotel school?
Yeah, he went to like management school, the like 3-month course, and got lots of tips on, working at hotels because he stopped doing the other things he was doing, and then it became kind of his thing.
And then eventually, from what you just told me earlier and what I've read about you, is you also ended up going to the US. So you went to boarding schools.
I went to boarding school in Switzerland, and then I went to university in Providence, Rhode Island.
And that was RISD, Rhode Island School of Design?
And I knew I wanted to be in the art world, but I didn't exactly know what.
So this visual gene that you talked about, you said both your parents were aesthetes.
Yes.
That also must have passed to you as well.
I think, as I was saying, I thought, well, that's where it comes from. And I think also growing up in Italy, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about it. I mean, I think each one of us has a particular sense which is, more enhanced than others. And I think that growing up in Italy, maybe I was born in a family of people who are estetici, I don't know how to say in English, but also growing up in a city like Rome, or in most Italian cities and towns, there's a very strong sense of proportion, of color, of scale, and I think it really forms you, it forms your aesthetic. So, yeah, definitely.
So did you know when you were studying at RISD that you'd eventually return and work for your family? Absolutely
the last thing I wanted to do. No clue I was going to ever work in the hotels, ever. So I was by complete chance.
So I know you worked a bit in interior design.
Yeah.
Or not a bit, but like a substantial bit in interior.
I think it was like a couple of years that I worked with a really great interior designer here in Rome that was so formative.
What kind of properties were you working on?
Really nice houses and apartments.
And then all of a sudden, this is what I've read in the mythology of the Scio family, that your father asked you to redesign some bathrooms at the Pellicano. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it was like 2005. I can't remember now exactly the date, but he said to me, I have to find those invoices actually, and from there I'll find the dates of when we bought the tiles and things like that, because I keep forgetting, but I think it was around 2005 or something like that. And he said, will you redesign 2 bathrooms? And I said, sure. And then when I did that, I said, I think you really need to like reposition the hotel to a younger crowd, because it was starting to, everything is a cycle, and he said, do it. And I said, I won't, because I don't think I'm capable of that. But, and he was amazing because he gave me the space, And so over a winter, I hired a girl who still works with me, Antonella, and we actually redid most of the hotel, 2 people, over the winter.
And that, just to go back to the numbers, I know there are 50 rooms and suites plus the 6 cottages.
Including the 6 cottages, it's 50 rooms.
Oh, but that's quite a bit.
So we started with the main building, the oldest part, and then it's a constant renovation. So we did the main block of rooms and the restaurant, and then added another restaurant, and then really every year we keep on putting a lot of work into it. But the first chunk of it, I was kind of alone with this immense responsibility, which I was really scared of, but I thought I might screw it up, but I won't screw it up as much as someone who doesn't know this place. And I know this place, and I know the life, and I know the people who come through here, and I know the DNA.
So that's interesting to me, because I think you from what you're saying is you knew that you wanted to, let's say, rejuvenate the clientele.
Yeah, I wanted it. I remember very specifically saying I want to make this hotel into an iconic place that is timeless, and I've been reading a lot lately about manifesting and intentions and things, and I think it's a real reality, but not that you say something and throw it to the universe and hope it drops on your lap. I think it just subconsciously you really work towards that direction. Right?
I definitely agree with that. I do feel, I mean, it's that kind of, back in the day, I think they called that the power of positive thinking.
Yeah.
But that's something I truly believe in as well. So I see what you're saying. So, and you said the exact word that I think most people will say about the Pellicano. It is iconic. It has become like a punto di riferimento, a point of reference for that entire area. And then now, so
then I got stuck in doing all the rest. So that's how
then
I became I started as kind of the architect of the place, but then I was like, oh, you have to redo all the graphics, and then oh god, all the sales materials. Like I can't believe, our salespeople go around with these really bad materials. And then I literally started manically curating absolutely everything, and I really, at that point I was stuck in a job that I really loved. And I was just kind of going along and learning so much about it, and also I think I had an approach of someone who doesn't come from that industry, so I had a complete different approach to like the way of doing things. I think.
Well, you know what I think is really
at that point.
So I think you said a really key word: curating.
Yeah.
Because it sounds to me like what you do on you are a curator on of a different kind of, let's say, temporary and permanent exhibition, because that's what your hotels have become. They've become, I don't want to say they're exhibitions, but they've become these spaces that are timeless for one, that have, and so you're curating that permanent space. But I also know that you're also creating these temporary experiences as well. And I know you've done a lot of different collaborations. I know that there's been books with Jürgen Teller. I think what I've been following JJ Martin and La Double J for a long time, and I remember distinctly the collaboration that you two did. You guys maybe were you with her did I see an image of you guys in the window at Bergdorf's in New York? Yeah. So it was like in Pellicano and JJ in Bergdorf's in New York, which I thought was incredible. And I know for Restless Sleepers, and what I've noticed with this through line is that, or there is a little bit of a through line, is that you do a lot of collaborations with a lot of different artists and creators that are a lot of them are women, and a lot of them are producing and creating in Italy. And I'd love to talk to you a little bit about that.
Well, again, I think that was when I was redoing the hotel. We had this space for the shop, and we had a hotel shop, and I thought, well, there's an opportunity here to make this the coolest hotel shop. And by no means I'm saying that's what we did, but I think people, hotel shops are really flat.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just kind of look at them as places where I might get...
It's the cap and the ashtray. It was, because again, that's changing. And nothing against the cap and the ashtray, but I think in hotels, you have an opportunity to touch the client in every single... It touches soul, and make him discover something. If it's a really good oil or a great olive or a really good homemade jam or a great brand, because they find that in the shop. And I think there's an opportunity in that whole day, right, that the client spends, the guest spends in the hotel. And so I think, again, the shop was something that I wanted the guests to come in and be like, oh, wow, great. Oh, look at that dress. Oh, I'm going to wear it tonight, and be excited, And so I started doing the buying for the shop, which is slightly bigger than this room. And you should see it one day because it's jam-packed. And every year I took like a bit more risk, because at the beginning it was like, safe and the basics kind of, and then I started really bringing in bigger brands, and like from Jill Sander to Missoni, Victoria Beckham, all things that you would find in a shop, possibly in a city and not on the beach. Borsalino, and a lot of brands that were starting, like that I just found out, like this French company who makes these amazing bags called Rue de Vernier, or a friend of mine who makes these incredible glasses, Luca Nicchi, and they're made in Italy, and then lots of little things. So, and then I thought, well, we should start, doing collaborations. So I think it was 7-8 years ago with APC, we started doing our t-shirts with them, and then we did the book clutches with Olympia Letan, and
Oh, wow.
and a lot of these things that I communicated also terribly on our Instagrams back in the day, but we have so much actually history of collaborations that we're doing quite, again, it was all a learning curve, so then we started doing more and more structured, I would say. And so the last one we did, which is the biggest one now, was Birkenstock, that came out this year.
Yes, I saw they're very fabulous Birkenstocks.
They're very fabulous.
The raffia ones are very interesting. I like them.
No, it was really great because I wrote to them and I said, I have this idea, because it was 3 years that I was sitting on this thing of Birkenstocks, because I wear them all the time.
Are those yours?
Yeah.
Can I see?
These are the ones we designed. So I designed, these are black silk, but they've got a lot of sand on them right now. But they're usually cleaner.
Il dolce far niente.
Yeah. And so, anyway, it's been really successful because it was kind of also an unusual co-branding.
So you reached out to them?
Yeah, I reached out to them and I said I have this idea, and they said, we're really difficult with collabs, but send us what you know. And I had the project already done, so 24 hours later I sent them.
How many different styles are there?
There's one model, which is the Arizona one, which is the one I wear all the time, but it's in the 7.
Ah, and they're different. They're all different materials. So it's one model with different materials.
Yeah,
is that?
it's one model with different materials.
Very interesting. I mean, normally you don't think of wearing silk shoes on the beach. I mean, I guess.
In fact, in this case, I shouldn't have. And it wasn't actually the beach. I think it was like I went on a walk on a dirt road. But
But I think there's something so delicious about wearing silk Birkenstocks on the beach.
well, I wanted to make them that you could wear during day and night. I think that's a bit the principle that underlies all of our hotels, is to make something that is timeless and doesn't really have a season. In the design and in what we do, and for me it's so important that the hotels are not about a trend, and they're here today and tomorrow there's the new cool thing coming up. We're here to stay, and that's what I want to do is keep doing hotels that have a soul and personality, and they're not about a quick fix, And and that's the same thing with our collaborations and with the other things we do.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the other 2 hotels, because eventually, I think we earlier mentioned your family acquired the Getty property, which La Posta Vecchia, which I think a lot of people think of it as the Getty property, but historically, it's what was it, built in the 1700s? Is that correct?
The house is 1640.
Okay.
And it's built on the ruins of a Roman villa.
Oh, so are we thinking like imperial or republican? Is it in the BCs?
It's the BCs.
Okay, republican.
Yeah, it's the BCs.
That's the not nerdy archaeologist wife asking.
It's the BCs.
Okay, so
and it's quite amazing. So I mean, it's this beautiful 1640 house built, and the basement runs the whole ruins of the Roman villa and in the garden.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, my husband and I were there, and your father found out that my husband was an archaeologist and took him through, and if I'm not mistaken, and I'm probably going to be mistaken because I often throw out things in archaeology that my husband's like, slightly incorrect, Erica. But I think that I do remember something about the 2nd century BC. And I remember your father being so excited and showing us this whole underground space, and my husband being like, wait a minute, there's a Michelin restaurant on top.
Yeah, it's quite, I mean, it is spectacular property. I think my father's eye was really in finding these places were so kind of out of the, very out of the ordinary. I think, in the 70s also Porto Ercole, like today, unfortunately, it's not fortunate and unfortunate, I think, is not so well known, I mean, it was probably easier if you'd gotten a hotel on the Amalfi Coast, which was already a destination. Right. And certainly La Posta Vecchia is not maybe a destination, the area of the Posta Vecchia for holidaying, but those properties, both of them are so amazing, and they've got so much life, that needs to be told. And so then that's what I try and do, is make these places have a past and keep the past and take the dust off and just create kind of a dialogue with today and today's culture.
So last summer, I took our daughters to Ischia for vacation, and we were in, is it Lecomano, the little port town, and we were on a boat, and in the distance we saw this, what the then 9-year-old was like, "Oh, look, it's a castle." She's like, "We should see what kind of fairies live there." And she sometimes can be so cute, and then sometimes she can be so urban, and then she's like, "'Cause we'll take it over." And the boat driver was like, "Yeah, it's this old historic hotel." And then I think a week later, I'm back in Rome, and I read that you had decided that was, after searching for different properties. And in fact, I believe that the article said that you like to stalk buildings.
Yes, that's to find apartments.
That all of a sudden, the Pellicano Hotel Group was taking over Mezzatorre.
Yeah. Well, my brother has complete credit for finding it, because that's what he does. He's on the board, and he's kind of the director of the development, and so he always comes up with amazing properties for us to see, and we have seen, I think, about 30, but nothing was quite like hit the spot for a series of reasons, honestly. And then he insisted. He was like, "You have to go see this place, Mezzatorre." And I said, "I really don't want to run another seasonal hotel. I want to run something that's open all year round." And
all 3 hotels are seasonal.
yeah,
Okay.
the Posta Vecchia is shorter season. It's open until later in November.
Okay.
And so, he told me once, and then he was like, and then came back and said, "Listen, you really have to go see this place. Let's go see it. It's really important." I was like, really? No, I don't want. And he said, "Listen, it's the last chance. It was the 23rd of December, pouring with rain, freezing, and we get a boat and go to Ischia." And I was really, tight. When you get to that point, like next to Christmas, that you're just bummed and like not. And then we got there, and it was all boarded up, and the waves like that, and it was just amazing. And so my brother had really all the credit for finding it. And then it took a while to figure out the logistics, and then we got the keys in January and just did 3.5 months of heavy makeup. I have to say, the team,
3.5 months.
That's it.
How big is the property?
Big.
And by the way, we should let me logistically tell everybody what we're talking about. This is you have to take a train or drive to Naples, which is about, in a train ride, an hour and 20 minutes away. Then you get on a 45-minute hydrofoil to a big green island in the middle, like just off of Naples. I think it's part of the Phlegrean Islands. So this is not like you just drove up the coast. No. If you're flying from anywhere, it's really easy. You fly to Naples and you take a ferry. From Pellicano, it's a commute. It's a big commute to work. But and we're talking like just the logistics of getting. To kind of not rebuild, but renovate this 50+ room hotel.
Yeah, and I have to say, it's we never worked in that area. We never worked with that team, and some part of the team was saying, "Let's just run it silently for a year." And I said, "Absolutely not, because it's going to be impossible. Let's fix this." And so everyone who is in this office, we worked nonstop for 3.5 months, because we had to open the hotel. We had to photograph it.
When did you open it?
We opened it beginning of April.
Wow, that's.
And we started. How in Italy everything stops over Christmas in January until the 10th. No one was working, and we hadn't done any work on it before. I had some ideas, but very big, because we didn't know if we were going to get it or not. And so then when it was green light, we're like, okay. And we just all worked 7 days a week for 3.5 months. And it was great. It was such an experience. Everyone worked really hard. The team really bonded even more. We're a very close-knit office, I have to say. Because everyone works with such passion in this job. but it was amazing when we opened it. I mean, I still can't believe it sometimes when we say it, you know, like, oh, it took us 3.5 months. Again, it's not perfect and we need to do a lot of renovation over the winter. But, you know, now the first impression, you get the mood, you get the story we wanted to say, you know, it's like, and that's what we needed to do was.
So tell me a little bit about the story. Is it the fairy tale castle that my daughter insists it is?
Well, it was a tower, a watchtower, so depends on what kind of fairy tale castle.
Yeah.
It was owned by a family for a long, long time, and then it was owned by many families, actually passed in the hands, and then for 30 years it's been a hotel. I'd never been there, and I'd never been to Ischia. None of our family had actually.
Really?
Yeah, and so, but as I was saying before, between Pellicano and Vecchia, I think it's again in the DNA to look for non-obvious. You know, a lot of people were saying to us, well, why don't you open in Capri? And we said, well, why would we open in Capri? I mean, Ischia is unbelievable. I mean, I love that island. It is wild, it is beautiful, it's incredible.
It's got a lot. I mean, the island itself has a lot of mythology. I can't remember which. There's a whole. The rock formations are from some god who took a permanent, actually probably a titan who took a permanent rest there, because that whole area is related to the Odyssey. I mean, it's beautiful and it's green. So, but you know, one of the things that you said earlier, and I think that you keep saying in different ways is that the hotels, the locations and the hotels that you're choosing are out of the ordinary, and not just, wow, it's out of the ordinary, but I mean in that they're particular, and they're not, like you're saying, they're not in the places that you'd expect, and the properties are not what you'd expect. I wanted to ask you if you could do, each of the properties have a different personality for you, and if they did, how would you describe each one?
I think Pellicano is kind of the mother, no? And the mother and the niece. I mean, I see it. It's a very feminine place. I mean, I think there's always been strong kind of female energy. The first owner did all the interior design, and it's always been a house. So I think there's this kind of grand, you know, but always kind of elegant but understated feel to Pellicano. But I think that goes for all the properties. But it has also that feeling for an older generation and for a younger generation. So it, and one of the things I love about it is that you do get 90-year-olds and you get 25-year-olds, and they all coexist. So I think, you know, the Pellicano is really kind of a family, if it could be a hotel description. It's multi-generational. Vecchia is much more male. I mean, obviously because of it was home to the Roman Empire, Roman imperatori, come si dice? Emperors, who used to weekend there, and then it was Paul Getty's, and it's quite like it's complete. It's very opulent. It's very rich. It's very, you know, the decor is the complete opposite from Pellicano.
That's so interesting. I love that mother. Male is female, male kind of.
Yeah, they're completely different stories, and I think Mezzatorre is kind of a hybrid. You know, when I was redesigning it, I was imagining this very kind of flamboyant man who lived there by himself in the winter, and he's a writer with the, you know, who traveled the world and so much collected so much different visual material. So when you see Mezzatorre, it's like, I think it was partly because I had no time but to do it with instinct, instinctually. So everything I chose was first choice, and that was it.
Wow, so it's like you're just really like
it's
responding right away.
Designed with the gut, literally.
Wow.
And so, but my narrative in my mind was that it was this man, you know, that was kind of just, again, very flamboyant and fabulous and had taste and travel and everything. And so I put everything I really like in it.
This must have been a really interesting project for you because, and completely kind of off book in the sense that the other two properties you grew up with. And so you have a really strong personal relationship with the Pellicano that you were saying, hiding behind and watching the people, and La Posta Vecchia. And this one, To me, it sounds like, because you grew up with the stories of those, and this one you had to, you basically responded to a story that you were finding, you were discovering.
Yeah, and I kind of made it up, and there's Luchino Visconti's house on top in the same garden, so I mean...
The director.
Yeah. And so it was just really like gut feeling, and so I think it has to grow. I think that this man is maybe in his 40s, I don't know, or maybe it could be 200. Again, it's timeless. I think what is common to all of our hotels, or at least we try our best, is to have this, as I was telling you, this kind of like approach that I don't want to win awards for interior design, and we don't want to win awards for like the most innovative graphics. We want to do something that is really nice and resonates with people, and it's not complicated, and it's simple but sophisticated, and I think that, and timeless, and so that's it.
Well, I'd love to ask you, when say you've got some friends or friends of friends, say, you know what, I'm coming for a long weekend to Mezzatorre. I've never been to Ischia. First of all, I've never even heard of Ischia. That's what they say, because I've only heard of Capri. I've only heard of the three Italian islands, Sicily, Sardinia, and Capri. But this off the beat place, what would you say would be the ideal weekend, or what should someone bring as someone who is a curator of culture, whether it's in your hotels or in the actual hotel shops or in this micro collection that you've done for Birkenstock? What are the fundamentals that someone would need to bring for a wonderful weekend at Mezzatorre?
As in what you put in your suitcase?
Yeah, let's start with what you put in your suitcase.
Well, I think really good book. And we have this, at the Mezzatorre, we have a library with just biographies.
Oh, like who?
Oh God, I can't, I'm so tired. One that I just read, which is a really funny biography, is Chelsea Handler's biography. Who's a comedian and who I absolutely love. Who else do we have? We have a lot. I'll get you the list out. From Steve Jobs to Michelle Obama to Benjamin Franklin. I mean, we have so many biographies and autobiographies. Agassiz, which was great. I mean, a lot.
Okay.
And I think it's just inspiring to read. It's nice to be inspired. And so... also at the Pellicano, we have a book selection that, hotels tend to buy like books by the meter. And so I asked a friend of mine who's a great Italian author if he would choose 50 books to read in a lifetime. And so we have 50 books to read in a lifetime. And, again, it's one of those things that you go to choose a book and you think, oh my God, I've been dying to read the Odyssey. Those things that we all have, like, I need to read that book.
But I've never had the time?
Yeah. So,
can I ask what your friend's name is, the author?
Leonardo Colombatti.
Oh, so that's great. So you have a library of books that I'm a big book reader. I could just come and take them and read them.
Yeah. And then the same for the film library. I mean, it's all a selection of kind of films that is curated by different friends who are in cinema. Saverio Costanzo, I'd asked Bernardo Bertolucci if he'd put some films. So, and I just like a lot of different films. So it's all.
What kind of I mean,
definitely not only holiday films.
No, I don't mean that.
From Festin to.
No, I mean more like, so I think with the day of streaming, the
DVDs.
DVDs.
Yeah, because you cannot stream. Besides on Mubi, which I think is an amazing cultural platform for cinema, you can't download like Antonioni, you can't download Fellini, you can't download those kind of films. And so I put those there.
Oh, wow, that's great. And what else should someone potentially pack in their bag? Because obviously they don't need to pack books because you have them now.
Yes, they don't.
And they don't need to bring.
Sack the books.
They don't need to download anything.
They don't need to download anything. I think just some flat shoes like Birkenstocks, some trainers, because there's amazing hikes you can take around Ischia. Really beautiful.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
Ci sono delle passeggiate. I mean, I'm starting to discover it now, but there's some places that are just amazing to walk around. I mean, the botanical garden is sensational. Have you been there?
I've not been there. I know that there's also. I know that there's a bunch of craters. There are these incredible. I haven't done this yet, and I'd like to do this. You can walk around the craters of Ischia, because it's all volcanic.
Yes.
It's Monte Bomeo or something like that.
You're much more clued in. You know, I didn't have the time to even go around yet.
No, I'm a complete nerd. So I read everything, and then it doesn't mean I do it all.
No, but
it just means that, and then words come out of my mouth because I can't stop talking. That's why I have this podcast. But I know. I mean, it's, you know, and I also know one of the things, because my grandparents used to also do this, is what they would. So my grandparents, Italian, moved to New York City, and then had the required many-month summer vacation with the family. And so another thing that they would do, my nonna always had to do with her sister, was she would come and she'd go to Ischia and go to the thermic baths. Like, that was their thing. They, like, nobody talked to them for a week. But I mean, this was also before cell phones. And they were just gone. And they were like, we're taking care of ourselves. We'll see you in a week. And we were like, what the hell? But that's what they would do. And
Ischia, I mean, the whole thermal area, the waters are amazing.
Exactly. And so for the first time, I've been to Ischia a few times. And then last summer I went all around it, and I saw these incredible baths and like those little coves that you can go to, and you can rub the kind of mud on you. And then, so you're like, everybody's covered in mud, and it like makes you feel really good. And the water's like cold, but then there are parts that are really warm because they're thermal.
Yeah, we have the thermal water that arrives in our pools. So there's a whole indoor pool with all 5 different pools with different temperature water.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm curious, what is your indoor pools, and what color is it?
The water?
No, the color. What color? Because I view you as someone super visual with color. So I'm just wondering the colors of inside the
green.
It's green.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That would be very nice to be in a green room.
And that again was a lot of, there was, you know, it's kind of old rivestimenti, and I was like, oh, we have to, you know, this is like the highlight of this hotel, the thermal area of it. So we have to change it. And everyone was like, well, you're never going to make it. I was like, yep, we'll just get tiles and cover the walls. And so, because if we change the floors, we'd have to strip them. And so you demolish it and it would take longer. So we just covered all the walls, changed all the lighting, and it looks great now. This winter we'll do the rest.
Now, has your family ever thought about having an urban located hotel?
Yes, we love an urban, a mountain, a country, and that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's all about so much detail, and I think there's so much you can manage, and then it becomes diluted if you don't physically go there and take care of these things.
Now, I know we're sitting in your office in Rome, and what was lovely was I talked to Laura, who said, okay, because I said I'm coming back and I'm in Rome, and I said, I'm happy to meet you wherever. And then I thought about it, and I was like, well, wherever for her could mean La Dispoli, Porto Ercole, Ischia now, and Rome. Yeah. So what's an average? Where do you live?
There is no average. The summer I spent, let's say, 10 days in Pellicano, a week in Ischia, 10 days in Pellicano, 5 days in Vecchia.
So you're rotating the whole time. And then when the season ends, so what's the longest season you said is La Dispoli?
Yeah, Pellicano and Vecchia closes mid-November. Then we reopen for New Year's, and which is really nice time. And then we close February and March for renovations.
So what are you doing when you're not in the off season, when you're not renovating a hotel?
I'm here renovating a hotel in the office.
Wow. So
the summer part is more the coming up with the new ideas, being on the properties and coming up with the ideas for the next season and strategizing. But the real office work is all from September to April.
And that means you're in Rome.
Yeah, more or less. I travel a lot because I'm also doing consulting for other hotels. So, and then I do the buying for the shops. So now I'm going to Paris and Milan professionally to purchase all the things for our shop.
So my last question would be then, the 3 hotel shops, do they all have the same things, or are they a little bit different for each one?
They now have Pellicano is the biggest store. Vecchia and Mezzatorre have a very small selection, and it comes similar, obviously the same from the Pellicano, but that will change.
Okay.
Big ideas and stories.
Well, I can't wait to see. And nobody knows what I just did.
Right.
to give everybody an idea, if you want to come to any of these three beautiful properties, you can fly into Naples and go to Ischia, go to Mezzatorre. You can fly into Rome and go to La Posta Vecchia.
And it's 20 minutes from the airport. I call it the chic airport hotel.
Oh my gosh, that's a great way to put it,
Because it's literally 20 minutes from Fiumicino, which is so convenient.
And how about Porto Ercole? How about
It's an hour and a half drive, and you fly into Rome or Pisa, I guess. But I think Pisa is slightly further.
And what would you say would be the average stay or the ideal stay at any of these places? I mean, I would say a month.
I think that Posta Vecchia, you need 3 days minimum. Pellicano, I would say the same. Ischia, because of the thermal waters, that is a cure. You need to stay a week.
Okay.
But obviously you go for weekends, and that's there. But I think because the thermal water treatments and with the fungi and the mud treatments, you do need to do a cycle of a week.
Okay.
If you're into that.
So these are everything that everybody should be planning is
come to Italy.
Yeah, spend at least you'll be spending at least a week in Ischia, which will change your perspective on everything because nobody's ever really understood Ischia, in my opinion, and it's a great place to visit.
It is.
And Mezzatorre is a beautiful, beautiful property that's right on the water. I think I've been to Lecomano several times. I've seen that you have like a little lido that comes out with that little, and I've seen the pictures of those gorgeous hotel umbrellas. The umbrellas that you've chosen are so beautiful.
Oh, everyone's loving those. I'm so happy. People like them.
I think people will really love them when they get there too. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
At the end of this podcast, I'm going to share a little bit more information on each hotel, and thanks for listening to Ciao Bella.
Grazie.
Grazie. Thanks for listening in to my conversation with Marie-Louise Scio of Pellicano Hotels. I'm about ready to hit the beach, and if you are, you can find her hotels at the website pellicanohotels.com, pellicanohotels.com. She has 3 hotels, the Hotel Il Pellicano in Porto Ercole, the Tuscan coast in Italy, La Posta Vecchia in La Dispoli, Lazio, so near Rome, and Mezzatorre, the newest, in Ischia, which is just a 45-minute hydrofoil ride from Naples. Thanks for listening in. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ciao Bella. You can find all my episodes on iTunes, and if you have time, subscribe, rate, and let me know your thoughts on the podcast. You can also be part of the podcast by donating. Find Ciao Bella on patreon.com, where with as little as $1, you get behind-the-scenes photos and videos as I travel all throughout Italy. To learn more about me and my work, go to my website, ericafirpo.com, and follow my Italy adventures on Instagram at ericafirpo. Ciao Bella! And a very big thank you and hug to Massimiliano Yonta and Disc to Disc Studios, the producers of Ciao Bella, who continue to make me sound and feel great.